All right, welcome parents. This is the Q&A for the MacArthur Learning Labs. I'm joined here this afternoon with our Mr. Bayuk, our assistant principal,
Hello?
Mrs. Kang, our other assistant principal, Mrs. Tristan, school counselor, Mr. Arana, our FACE liaison, and then our three staff members from extended learning. They will be the ones in the classroom with your students. That's Monica Bermudez, Valeria Costa, and E-Fan. So we welcome you. Tonight is going to be mostly question and answers, but we do have a short video to show you that will hopefully answer some of your questions. And then the rest of the time we will spend in a Q&A format. So Mr. Bike's going to go ahead and start the video for us.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So if it seems a little choppy because we're watching it through the internet here, this video will also be posted in the Parent Square group. So you'll be able to view it again and again and again to make sure that you know exactly what to do for those first day of Learning Labs.
Let me just translate really quick.
Yeah.
Buenas tardes, familias de MacArthur. Si están mirando este video es porque su hijo fue seleccionado para ser parte de los Learning Labs, que son los salones pequeños que vamos a tener en la escuela MacArthur, donde van a estar ser vigilados por un personal del programa Engage 360. Aquí está presente Mónica Bermúdez, Valeria Costa y IFAM, y también tenemos aquí al director, el señor González, el subdirector Mr. Bayuk y subdirectora Mrs. Kang y la consejera Mrs. Tristan y su servidor, el señor Arana. Tenemos el placer de estar aquí con ustedes. Cualquier pregunta lo puede poner en el chat, en el YouTube, o también puede mandar un mensaje de texto al número que aparece en pantalla. Ahorita vamos a enseñarles un breve video de cómo va a funcionar los Learning Labs, que son los salones que empiezan el 30 de noviembre.
The following video will help guide you regarding MacArthur Fundamental's Learning Labs. In the morning, when you arrive at school, you'll notice that the front gate is closed and will not open until about 7:30 a.m. If you arrive early, you can wait in your car or you can line up physically distant 6 feet apart. As you enter campus, please keep in mind that you need to bring with you a fully charged Chromebook as well as a face covering or mask. You must be wearing your mask at all times when you are on campus or in the classroom. The only time you may take it off is when you're eating your snack or having lunch. Otherwise, it must stay on. Students to enter the Learning Lab safely. We've designated these blue arrows to help guide them. This will make sure that they enter in an orderly fashion. We want to remind students that when you're here on campus for the purpose of being in the Learning Lab, it is a time for you to work and be focused on your distance learning. You're going to go ahead and have a seat and start your classes just as you normally would, except you're doing it here on campus. We have great internet. We're going to make sure that you stay on task. On campus, make sure to follow MacArthur's cell phone policy. Your cell phone must be off at all times. On the days when you have PE and you're going to be doing physical activity, make sure to dress appropriately. Students who have PE will go outside to our PE area where students will stay physically distant and complete their PE activities. You'll notice that students have their Chromebook out showing their teachers that they're doing the appropriate workout. If they're on the cement, they'll have a mat. If they'd like to use the grass, they may do that as well. Let's talk a little bit about how students will exit the Learning Lab. So this time they're going to use the orange arrows, and the first student in will actually be the last student out. This is to ensure that students do not cross paths with each other. When it's time for snack or lunch, our staff will escort the students out of the classroom, maintaining a physical distance of at least 6 feet apart. As they walk through the campus to get to the lunch tables, our staff will make sure that they're each seated at their own table. Our activity monitors will distribute snack or lunch for students to eat. Only remove your mask when you plan to be eating snack or lunch. At the end of the day, our staff will make sure to walk students from the classroom to the front gate. Parents, it's very important that you pick up your child on time. On regular days, our dismissals at 2:25 and on modified days at 1:20. Please be on time. We can't wait for your child to join us. It will be available on our YouTube channel for you to watch. It'll also be in the Parent Square group as well. And then, of course, this entire recording will be on our YouTube channel. So if you miss any of the question and answer period, then you will be able to watch this all over again. So if you love reruns, you can watch this one more time. Now, this is the question and answer period. So how can you ask a question? You'll notice that right above me, over here somewhere, there is a phone number. You can text that number and ask a question that way. You can also put your question in the chat. So at this point, the floor is open for any parents or students who have questions. So put your question in the chat or text the number, and then Mr. Arana can translate.
Muchas gracias por acompañarnos. Sé que miraron el video. Es muy importante que miren el video con su hijo o hija que va a asistir a la escuela el 30 de noviembre para que ellos también sepan qué es lo que van a hacer. Este video también se les va a mandar por Parent Square y lo vamos a poner en YouTube cuando le mandemos el link. También toda esa presentación va a estar puesta en YouTube. Y así que si usted ahorita es el tiempo de preguntas y respuestas. Si usted tiene una pregunta, a favor de ponerlo en el chat. Puede mandar un texto al número que aparece aquí arriba en pantalla para nosotros poderle contestar y seguir esta reunión.
All right. Well, we are waiting for any questions. Do we see any in the chat?
So far, no questions.
Okay. I think the video was so well made and explanatory that it just answered all the questions. But we'll see.
Or they didn't get to see it.
Or they missed it. That's true. There is that too. But we are ready to answer any questions you may have. Now, if you are thinking about what kinds of questions to ask, you might want to think about the nature of the learning labs. The reason that the district created these learning labs is to provide an environment for your child to work in a focused way with school internet. So you do have to bring your own fully charged device. That part's very important. And then we have our internet here that your child will be using. And this is a learning lab which is staffed by one of these three extended learning staff members. And they're there to monitor your child and make sure that they're on task. They're not the teachers of your child's classes, though. That's important to keep in mind. Your children will be doing their distance learning while they're here on campus with their MacArthur teachers. They're just doing it when they're on campus. One of the things that that video actually didn't say was that we are providing each student with a set of headphones with a mic. That way they can go ahead and be able to focus on listening to their teachers while they're in class.
Entonces, si no sabe qué pregunta preguntar, déjenle explicamos un poco más de por qué vino eso de Learning Labs. Eso fue porque el distrito miró que muchos estudiantes de la escuela tenían problemas técnicos, ya sea con el internet, o no había nadie en casa quien los podía monitorear y todo eso. Por eso es que ahorita estos Learning Labs van a tener a 3 personal del programa de Engage 360, pero ellos no son los maestros. Sus hijos y hijas van a estar con sus maestros vía Zoom, pero ellos no son los maestros, ellos nomás van a estar ahí monitoreando, asegurándose de que su hijo y hija estén listos, estén en las clases y no tengan fallas técnicas. Entonces, también algo que le faltamos decir es que todos los estudiantes van a tener su propia computadora que van a traer de casa cargada, bien cargada. También aquí se les va a proporcionar un par de audífonos con micrófonos para que ellos puedan usar cuando estén en clases, y también le vamos a proporcionar un kit de las útiles escolares que ellos van a ocupar.
All right. Well, I had one question come in, but I'm going to respond to that one in the through the Tiger line regarding if a student was on the list for Learning Labs. We did send in, so you may be watching this because you are one of our YouTube subscribers. And let's be clear and maybe talk a little bit about why certain students were selected to be part of the Learning Lab. So we understand that not every student was invited, and that's unfortunate. We're limited to how many kids we can actually have on campus. So we had to prioritize, and we had a criteria that we were looking at in terms of what was the type of students who would most be successful being here on campus. Based on reviewing that criteria, then students were selected. So if you were selected, you would have already received a Parent Square message, a phone call from the school letting you know that you were selected to be part of the Learning Lab. If in the future we could invite more parent or more students, we will try to do that. But for now, if you did not receive an invitation, you may have to wait, or you can always call the school to see where you are on the list of students to be entered into the Learning Lab.
Nada más para explicarles un poco más, a lo mejor usted está mirando ese video de YouTube porque anterior le había dado like a la campana, pero ese YouTube es nada más para los padres que fueron invitados a que sus hijos, porque sus hijos fueron seleccionados para participar en los Learning Labs. Estos estudiantes fueron seleccionados basado a un criterio que le daban puntos y por esa razón fue por las que fueron seleccionados. Puede ser que porque sean aprendices de inglés, porque tenían dificultad de internet, puede ser por los grados, hay diferentes opciones, pero entonces de eso es la manera que fueron seleccionados para que ustedes también sepan. Y nada más estuvimos yendo en la lista al más alto hasta al más menos, y de eso depende de todo esto, depende por la razón que fueron seleccionados. Entonces, hasta ahorita parece que son 28 confirmados, pero vamos a empezar así. Ya después, si estudiantes no vienen, entonces vamos a seguir llamando de la lista al máximo de 40 estudiantes.
We had one question in the chat asking, is this mandatory? So to be clear, this is an opportunity. So for some students who would really benefit from being on campus for the purpose of distance learning, this is a wonderful opportunity. All parents and students who were invited were given a chance to agree to participate in the learning labs. If you were given that invitation and you declined, then we went ahead and moved on to another student. But we did give parents an opportunity to say yes or no. So if you were invited, it didn't mean that you had to come. It was just an opportunity for you to come.
Una pregunta en el chat fue que si eso es mandatorio que los niños asistan, y no, esta es una oportunidad que se le está dando a su hijo o hija, y el padre toma la decisión de que si quiere que sí asista o si no quiere que no asista. Si sí va a asistir, entonces vendría a clases normales; si no, entonces seguiría en línea en casa. Y esa opción la tienen los padres, y si dijeron que no, entonces nada más seguimos con el próximo que seguía en la lista.
And also, I think it's important to mention that all the students that we have invited have been contacted. So if you haven't been contacted yet, that means at this point we have no space yet for your student, and we'll, as Mr. Bayuk mentioned earlier, we'll continue on down that list if we do have openings in the future.
Y todos los estudiantes que ya fueron invitados ya fueron contactados, así que si no lo han contactado hasta ahorita es porque no hay espacio, pero si en algún futuro se abren espacios, entonces será usted contactado si usted está en la lista.
And then I know the video talked a little bit about the expectations of being here on campus, so I want to make sure to clarify that MacArthur's cell phone policy is really clear that students are not allowed to use their cell phone when they're here on campus. The phone must be off and put away if they're bringing a backpack, their binder, things like that. They can have the phone off and in their backpack, but they're not allowed to use the cell phone. I know this is a hard thing because they've been home this whole time and maybe been able to use that device while they're distance learning off to the side. But when they're here on campus, there is 100% no cell phone use allowed. And that is not just in the classroom. That is anytime you're on campus during snack or lunch as well. So until students exit the gate or prior to entering, they are not allowed to use that cell phone.
Es muy importante también que le diga a su hijo o hija que si trae su celular a la escuela, no se debe de usar en cualquier momento dentro de la escuela, ya sea cuando esté en el salón, cuando esté afuera, cuando esté almorzando. En ningún momento de la clase, del tiempo de horario de clases, puede estar usando el teléfono. A lo mejor ahorita lo hace cuando está en casa porque está en su clase y está conectado también en su celular, pero es muy estrictamente cuando estemos en la escuela, no se puede usar el celular.
We don't have any new questions in the chat room, so we'll hang around for about 2 or 3 more minutes. If we don't get any questions, we'll go ahead and end it. You could always send us emails if you think of a question that you can't recall right now. And or you can give us a call at 714-568-7700 and ask to speak to Mr. Bayuk, Mrs. Kang, or Mr. Gonzalez regarding the Learning Labs.
Hasta ahorita no tenemos ni una otra pregunta en el chat o en texto. Entonces vamos a estar aquí por unos 2-3 minutos más, pero si usted tiene alguna pregunta después, siempre puede llamar a la oficina al 714-568-7700 o también puede mandar un correo electrónico a cualquiera de los administradores para que ellos le puedan contestar o preguntar por ellos cuando usted habla de la escuela con su pregunta.
In the last couple of minutes, I will just add that if you were invited to participate in the Learning Labs, you were sent a document that you need to fill out prior to arriving on Monday. That is a certification form stating that you will check your child for health reasons prior to allowing them on campus. And one of the things you may have noticed is in the video, we don't talk about taking temperatures or anything like that. It is the parent's responsibility to make sure the child is healthy prior to allowing them to be on campus. So that is 100% the parent's responsibility. If you feel that they might have a fever, have a cough, have any kind of symptoms of a cold, they should stay home and should not come to school.
Antes de que los niños empiecen el 30 de noviembre, es importante que usted llene una forma que le llegó por Parent Square. Esa es que usted que usted va a chequear y va a mantenerse informada de que su hijo, de la salud de su hijo, que no tenga calentura, fiebre, tos o lo que sea, y de esa manera que usted lo va a certificar, pero por sí mismo. Entonces, en el video nosotros aquí en la escuela no tenemos temperatura, no hacemos nada de eso porque todo eso es responsabilidad de los padres. Entonces, si su hijo o hija está enfermo o tiene calentura, cualquier de esos síntomas, es importante que no los lleve a la escuela.
And one last thing, just a reminder, school is over at 2:25 on regular days and 1:20 on modified days. There is no after-school program or any kind of childcare for your child after that time. So it is extremely important that you pick them up on time. We don't want students gathered and kind of waiting in the front of the school. So you need to make sure that you're dropping them off on time and picking them up on time.
We have a question in the chat now.
Es muy importante que usted también recoja y traiga a su hijo a la escuela a tiempo. La escuela empieza a las 7:50, el gate se va a abrir a las 7:30, pero a la escuela termina a las 2:25. Así que es muy importante que usted lo recoge a su hijo o hija a tiempo, 2:25, porque no queremos que ellos estén afuera en grupos durante ese horario.
So the question in the chat was, if they do have any kind of symptoms, how many days can they miss before being removed from the program? And I want to say the answer to that is if they're not feeling well and they have to miss some days, they will not be removed from the program because those students have been invited for a specific reason. So we know that those students need the support. If they are no-shows and we don't know why they're missing, then at that point, they may be removed from the program.
Una pregunta es de que si su hijo o hija tiene síntomas o de resfriado, ¿hasta qué tiempo lo van a sacar del programa? Y la respuesta es que como su hijo o hija fue invitado a este programa por alguna razón, si tiene algún síntoma de resfriado, no será removido del programa porque lo esperamos el tiempo que sea necesario, pero es nada más con la comunicación que usted se comunique con nosotros para hacernos saber. Si de otra manera nada más no viene al programa y no avisa, no dice nada, entonces ahí sí se puede ser que su hijo o hija sea removido.
And if you think of any questions, parents, after this meeting that you didn't ask during the meeting, you can 100% call the school or email us or send a text to that number, and we will help you out.
Si tiene cualquier otra pregunta después de esta sesión, se puede comunicar con nosotros a la escuela por correo electrónico con su pregunta y nosotros le responderemos.
Permission slips. We also have permission slips that need to be clicked on as well.
Yes, that is the form that we said needed to be completed prior to Monday. So all parents were given a phone call or an email with the link to that form. It's also in the Parent Square group, so you should have gotten a notice through Parent Square for that form.
Es muy importante también que llene la forma que de permission click que se le mandó por correo electrónico y por Parent Square antes del primer día de clases, que es el 30 de noviembre.
Okay, we had another question in the chat, and it was regarding the current rise in COVID cases and the change in our tier here in Orange County. And the question was, will Learning Labs still happen? And my response to that is right now, the district has not given us any direction to change our start date for Learning Labs. So as far as we know, unless we are told otherwise, we are continuing with the Learning Labs here at MacArthur starting Monday, November 30th.
Una pregunta era de que como los casos aquí van aumentando, de cualquier manera ellos van a asistir. Hasta ahorita el distrito no nos ha dicho que vamos a cancelar los Learning Labs. Entonces ahorita actualmente hay varias escuelas que lo han hecho desde el principio de noviembre. A nosotros nos toca el 30 de noviembre, pero sí, todavía continuarán estos Learning Labs y de manera muy segura, con a máximo 14 personas por salón y una capacidad de 40 estudiantes en la escuela.
Yes, and I don't know if we said that in the video, but we are limiting capacity of the rooms. There's no more than 14 students to a room with one adult, and the students will travel together in their pod, so they won't interact with other students. So we try to keep them as safe as possible in terms of physical distancing and mask wearing. And then I will say this, just as one parent to another, if you are having doubts or you don't feel like your child needs to participate because you're worried about that, remember, it's not a mandatory thing that you participate. You are invited to participate. We would love for your child to be here and be afforded the opportunity to get the extra support. But ultimately, if you change your mind, you do need to let us know so we could possibly open that spot up for another child.
Además, también queremos hacerles saber que si usted en cualquier momento está dudando o no, ya cambió de opinión y no quiere que su hijo o hija asista a los Learning Labs, a favor de hacernos saber para abrirle esa oportunidad a otros estudiantes, pero le aseguramos que todo lo que estamos haciendo en la escuela es muy seguro. Los estudiantes nada más son 3 estudiantes y un adulto en cada aula, en cada salón, entonces son 14 y todos ellos siempre van a estar juntos no van a interactuar con otros estudiantes que estén ahí presentes.
All right, I don't see any new questions, and we're right about the 30-minute mark. So we're going to go ahead and end the Q&A session now. Again, if you have any questions that you think of after we end this, you can send us an email, give us a phone call. We'd be more than happy to help you and answer the questions that you have. We look forward to Monday, November 30th, when we return from Thanksgiving break. We look forward to the students who will be joining us. And we hope that this is a positive experience and helps turn things around for some of your students, or for all of your students, actually.
Gracias por acompañarnos a esta sesión. Estamos muy ansiosos de ver a todos los estudiantes presentes el día 30 de noviembre y les deseamos que tengan un feliz fin de semana de Acción de Gracias seguro y con sus familias.
Thank you, and have a great break, and we'll see everybody on Monday.